Ever wanted to play a real-life game where the floor is lava, except the lava is actually snakes and death is a sure thing? Welcome to the island where every step you take gets you closer to your grave, and that's just the beginning. Let's check out some of the most dangerous islands ever, and tell me if you'd be brave enough to add them to your bucket list. The Island of Serpents. Have you ever heard of a place described as so dangerous that even the military is too scared to go? A place so scary that when the military does go, they bring a doctor and so much anti-venom you could drown in it. Brazil's Ilha da Queimada Grande, also known as Snake Island, or the Island of Nope, as I prefer to call it, is almost definitely a death sentence for anyone crazy enough to explore its infested corners. Would you step foot on an island populated by highly venomous, aggressive, and murderous snakes? What if you got paid? Tropical hell. From a distance, it looks like a tropical dream. You've got lush greenery, ocean views, the whole 9 yards. It's the kind of place that needs a tiki bar with 76 different fruity drinks. But step 1 foot on this snake-infested piece of land and you'll be regretting every life decision that led you there. Why? Because Snake Island is home to between 2,000 and 4,000 golden lancehead vipers. The word you probably picked up is vipers. But these are not normal vipers, they are golden lanceheads, meaning they are so venomous that they make cobras look like garden worms. The venom of the golden lancehead viper also doesn't act like the venom of other snakes. Their venom can melt flesh. Let me just repeat that in case you missed it. These snakes have venom that melts your flesh. You think your ex was toxic? Try a creature that can cause kidney failure, brain hemorrhaging, and internal bleeding with a single bite. How did this island become the serpent's Ritz-Carlton? You're probably thinking, okay, island of ultra-deadly snakes. Surely it was people who put the snakes here because people are insane. But that's not the case. There were no evil pirates laughing as they populated the remote Brazilian island with snakes to guard their buried treasure, though local folklore does have some stories to that effect. The real origin story starts around 11,000 years ago, when sea levels rose and cut off Ilha da Queimada Grande from mainland Brazil. The snakes that were left behind had no predators. Sweet, right? Total party with no chance of being eaten. Except they also had no snacks. No mice, no rats, no DoorDash. The snakes were stuck on an island with nobody to eat them and nobody to eat themselves. So what did they do to solve their food dilemma? They evolved. These venomous snakes started hunting birds, particularly migratory birds passing through the area. Birds on their way to the mainland would stop on the island to take a break, catch their breath, look around, and oh my God, a snake just bit my leg. That's more or less how it happens. And since birds don't exactly hang around after getting bitten, the golden lanceheads had to level up their venom game to kill them instantly. In the beginning, they would bite a bird and it would fly away, probably dying mid-flight a few miles away. Dinner isn't dinner if it's a mile down the road and sinking in the ocean. The snakes needed faster-acting venom. Over time, their venom evolved to become 3 to 5 times more powerful than that of their mainland cousins. That, my friends, is evolution with a vengeance. Darwin would have appreciated this island. The death toll. As you can probably imagine, there is a death toll, but it might not be as bad as you think. Local legend says a fisherman once stopped at the island looking for bananas and was later found floating in his boat, bloodied and bitten to death. Another story tells of a lighthouse keeper and his family in the early 1900s, who were supposedly swarmed by snakes that entered through the windows. Pro tip, if your windows allow snakes in, you need new windows. Humans did live on the island for a bit, despite the snake population from 1909 to the 1920s. They weren't there for fun, but to maintain the lighthouse. But when automation became a thing, the lighthouse was deserted, and Death Island has remained uninhabited ever since. The death toll is surprisingly minimal. There are no precise records, and there is no official body count. If we ignore the urban legends, the death toll could be 0. There are no recent or even modern tales of anyone dying on the island. It may be the deadliest place on Earth, but it seems to have killed less people than an unsteady vending machine. Look up vending machine deaths per year. I dare you. But don't let those numbers fool you. The sheer concentration of these creatures is a different kind of terrifying. How many snakes are there? Let me put the snake population like this. Some parts of the island are so snake-packed, there is one snake per 3 square feet. You literally cannot lie down and stretch out without accidentally cuddling a death noodle. You will encounter a snake on this island. If you go for a stroll, you will almost definitely step on one. You could get lucky and not get bit, but, why risk it? Because even with treatment, a bite from a golden lancehead has a 3% chance of killing you. Without treatment, that number jumps to 7%. And that is if your body doesn't shut down from the venom melting your insides like a microwave burrito. 7% is shockingly low. I would have thought it was closer to 50. But what you're not taking into consideration is multiple bites. Think of how many snakes are within striking distance at any time. You get bit by one snake, stumble a bit, step on another one, get bit again. The more you get bit, the better chance you have of meeting the Grim Reaper. And did we talk about pain? Because let me tell you a secret. When venom starts melting your insides like battery acid poured over styrofoam, it hurts. It hurts bad enough that the venom doesn't need to kill you because you might die from the pain. There is a silver lining, which is that you cannot visit Snake Island. Because of this charming atmosphere of death and toxins, the Brazilian government banned public access. Legally, no one goes there without permission, and any visit requires a doctor on site. The Brazilian Navy does an annual maintenance run to the lighthouse, but it's not exactly a relaxing cruise. Scientists and biologists also get special access, mainly because they're trying to figure out how the heck these snakes got so deadly, and if that super venom can be useful. Sure, it can be useful if you're a Spider-Man villain. Science nerds and snake venom. Seriously, scientists are smitten with golden lancehead venom. The Brazilian Butantan Institute, a research facility where scientists study venomous creatures for pharmaceutical purposes, is obsessed with this place. One of their scientists, Marcelo Duarte, told Vice News that they've only scratched the surface of what venom can do in medicine. As it turns out, golden lancehead venom might help with heart disease, circulation, blood clots, and even cancer. The same stuff that melts your leg off could one day save you from cancer. The snake venom is so valuable that it fetches an astoundingly high price on the black market. Wildlife smugglers called biopirates have been known to sneak onto the island, trap snakes, and sell them for upwards of $10,000 to $30,000 each. In a sad way, the deadliest island is steadily getting safer. Between animal trafficking and habitat degradation from the Navy clearing vegetation, the golden lancehead population has dropped by 50% in the past 15 years. That is a huge decline for a species already labeled critically endangered by the IUCN Red List. But even with 50% less snakes, I wouldn't recommend making this your next vacation destination. Unless you're a scientist with a death wish or a biopirate with a snake-sized duffel bag, stay far, far away from this island. Sure, it's beautiful by boat, but the moment your foot touches that beach, you're in the world's most venomous version of Jumanji. And now for a quick break, because it's shoutout time! I want to give a huge thank you to Golf Ire and Rudolph Mantooth Banksy for supporting this channel. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what other topics you'd like to see in the comments below. Aliens and sharks on Guadalupe Island. Harvard lawyers, military UFO sightings, and a volcanic island so remote it makes Area 51 look like a mall parking lot. Do you want to talk about aliens first or scary sharks? Because on Guadalupe Island, you are rolling the dice between alien abduction and a shark biting your arm off. This rocky outcrop of an island is 150 miles off the coast of Baja California. According to some, it might just be hiding an underwater alien base. The whistleblower. Meet Danny Sheehan. He's not some guy live streaming from his mom's basement surrounded by conspiracy posters and empty energy drinks. Sheehan is a legit Harvard-trained constitutional lawyer who's been involved in high-profile cases like the Pentagon Papers and the Iran-Contra affair. He also happens to be one of the loudest voices in the UFO disclosure movement. Sheehan's background makes his claims very intriguing. Let's explore what he says about this notorious island. Over the past few years, Sheehan's pivoted from defending the Constitution to defending the idea that aliens are already here and have been for a while. He served as legal counsel for Luis Elizondo, the former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. That is a really fancy name for a group of Pentagon scientists charged with looking out for alien attack fleets. This guy is in bed with some very powerful people and is presumably privy to some very secretive intel. When Sheehan talks about UFOs, people don't laugh at him. They listen. What's going on at Guadalupe Island? During a presentation for the New Paradigm Institute, Sheehan said out loud, in front of people, that there is an alien base under the sea near Guadalupe Island. Sheehan came packing evidence in the form of military reports. He claimed that in the early 2000s, sailors and the USS Nimitz battle group witnessed over 100 UFOs. This was a mass sighting reported by multiple personnel. They saw strange flying objects descend from space like asteroids, dive into the ocean, and vanish. It seemed like they were going somewhere, presumably to an invisible base hidden under the sea where humans just can't go yet. Well, James Cameron can, but not the rest of us. If aliens do have a permanent presence here on Earth, it makes sense that their base would be somewhere humans would never find it. Mountains are too risky. Antarctica is possible, but satellites make things complicated. The bottom of the ocean really is their best bet at privacy. Even ET needs some space. Where's the evidence? Here's where I've got to pump the brakes just a little bit. As wild as Sheehan's claim is, there is currently zero physical evidence of an alien lair beneath Guadalupe Island. I know. If aliens do have a base, they would hide it well enough that there wouldn't be any evidence. But I still have to mention that no crashed saucers have been found that I know of, and no glowing orbs have been seen rising from the depths. The whole conspiracy relies on one mass testimony, and some say that's not enough. The scientific community, as you might expect, isn't buying Sheehan's claims. Experts want to remind everyone that unusual sightings could easily be chalked up to misidentified natural phenomena, things like weird weather or bioluminescent sea creatures. However, I'd like to play devil's advocate and just say I'm pretty sure that sailors know the difference between a glowing dolphin and a spaceship crashing into the sea with the force of a cartoon anvil falling out of a plane. No? Closer than ever. Sheehan's claims have come at a really exciting time for UFO enthusiasts. In the last few years, the US government has gone from "we don't talk about aliens" to "okay, maybe let's talk about aliens." They've declassified reports, held congressional hearings on unidentified aerial phenomena, and admitted that they too have seen some strange things. In September 2023, Mexican journalist Jaime Maussan marched into Mexico's Congress and presented what he claimed were non-human mummified remains. They were tiny, shriveled figures that looked like they fell out of a low-budget sci-fi movie. Jaime insisted they were over 1,000 years old. Scientists rolled their eyes so hard it almost caused a seismic event. Between the bodies, the UFO sightings, and the sailors witnessing flying craft diving into the ocean, I think it's safe to at least accept that possibly, just maybe, it is plausible that aliens are among us. Sharks, and more sharks. Guadalupe Island isn't one of the most dangerous islands because of its possible alien connection. That was just the cherry on top. What makes Guadalupe Island so scary is that it's home to sharks. A lot of sharks. I love sharks, but from a distance. I don't want to hang out with them. For 2 decades, Guadalupe Island was the shark diving capital of the Eastern Pacific. Tourists shelled out thousands of dollars for the chance to drop into steel cages and come face to face with great white sharks, the biggest, baddest fish in the sea. If you've ever seen a video of a shark breaking through a cage and headbutting a tourist, it was probably taken at Guadalupe Island. The place was the front line for shark diving and also shark diving gone wrong, which is exactly why on January 10th, the Mexican government officially pulled the plug. Citing bad practices in the shark tourism industry, they slapped an indefinite ban on all great white-related activities around the island. Among the bad practices called out by Mexico's Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources were things like using drones to spook wildlife, dumping pollutants into the water, and being generally irresponsible. But perhaps the worst offense were the shark operators who got caught letting tourists swim outside the cages where they could easily be eaten by great white sharks. I mean, some people like trying to pet great whites, but I don't know, did they have to pay extra for that? Protecting the sharks. From a conservation standpoint, the ban was aimed at protecting the sharks and the fragile ecosystem of Guadalupe, which has been a Mexican biosphere reserve since 2005. During the 2019 season, around 2,800 people took the plunge in shark cages. The number of cage diving boats had doubled since 2014. Whole businesses sprang up around this booming niche, with some operators charging $2,000 to $5,000 per person just to be inches away from a shark's jaws. And now all the businesses are going under, leaving a void that, predictably, poachers have been quick to fill. It's always poachers. Fewer boats on the water means nobody is around to stop the poachers. And seeing as a single set of great white shark jaws can fetch 5 Gs and the fins go for up to 10, poachers can't stay away. Although the government tried to do the right thing, if they aren't going to guard the sharks from poachers, they may have just made things worse. So should Mexico bring back tourists to Guadalupe Island, even if it is monitored by aliens and plagued by hungry sharks? If you've ever been here, let me know what your experience was like in the comments. I'd love to hear it. The island so haunted, even ghosts won't go. Let's talk about an island so cursed, so shrouded in death, that Italy, a country that practically invented tourism, put up a big fat "Do Not Enter" sign and left it. This isn't some cutesy haunted hotel or spooky old church. This is a place with no less than 160,000 corpses buried beneath its soil. And that's not even the creepiest part. Let's go to Poveglia, the real-life nightmare floating just 3.5 miles south of Venice. You've got Venice with its romantic gondolas, art, and wine, and down the road you've got a full-blown horror movie. The body count. Poveglia is only 17 acres in size, meaning it's even smaller than Alcatraz. But unlike Alcatraz, which housed 336 prisoners at its peak, Poveglia was never built to imprison, at least not in the usual sense. Poveglia was Italy's quarantine dumping ground. It was the island where they sent people suspected of having the plague. Keyword: suspected. People weren't tested. They weren't treated. Anyone so much as coughing was kidnapped and exiled to the island of Poveglia, where they were expected to just sort of slowly die. Poveglia became the medieval version of a biohazard trash bin. If you were unlucky enough to be sick, this was your final stop. Of the plague pits went on throughout the 18th century, and then things got worse. From plague pit to psych ward. In 1922, a year that forever lives rent-free in my mind because it was the year King Tut's tomb was found, the island changed. Italy looked at its horror-soaked island and thought, you know what would really bring this place together? A psychiatric hospital. Yes, it was a terrible idea. From the moment the asylum opened, things went from yikes to what the actual blank. Reports claim that doctors performed ghastly experiments on the mentally ill patients. These were the kinds of experiments that would make Frankenstein uncomfortable, and he stitched together dead bodies to build a monster. The asylum was operational for over 40 years, during which time a lot of horrible things took place. Just imagine American Horror Story, but on an island built upon the bones of plague victims. The asylum shut its doors in 1968. Since then, the island's buildings have been left to rot. There are no maintenance crews here, and it really shows through the decaying buildings, their collapsed roofs, all the rusted beds. Nature is slowly but surely reclaiming the structures. It's like walking onto the set of a post-apocalyptic documentary. Authorities deem the island too dangerous for tourists, so sorry guys, you won't be snapping any selfies on Poveglia. And you won't be digging up any plague victims either, seeing as there are so many that their bones are practically sticking out of the ground like carrot stalks. And while access to the island is prohibited, not everyone listens. The Trespassers. In 2020, two British explorers, Matt Naden and Andy Thompson of Finders, Beepers, History Seekers, cute name, decided to break every rule of horror survival and sneak onto the island. And of course, they documented their very illegal trespassing and uploaded the video to YouTube. Matt described the island as so full of dark history that he could feel the horrors as he walked through the crumbling ruins. At one point, he said, they burnt all the bodies and left them where they lay. Would you really want to be walking around where bodies were burned? Matt also mentioned the absence of graffiti, which most urban explorers are used to seeing in abandoned places, but not on Poveglia, where even vandals are too scared to set foot. Absolutely nothing has been touched. It's all just rotting in eerie silence. And then came the biggest shock. And I don't know if I believe it because it is so creepy. Let me know what you think. Matt claimed that he and Andy heard a bell tolling. The issue is that the bell in the church tower has supposedly been gone for decades. Did the bell really ring? Were Matt and Andy so spooked they both suffered auditory hallucinations? I don't think this question will ever be answered. Matt and Andy managed to escape the island without being cursed, and they managed to leave Italy without being arrested for trespassing. But I do not recommend anyone follow in their footsteps. Seriously, it's too dangerous. Don't try this at home. Poveglia Island is cursed and physically crumbling. Between the unstable ruins and the overwhelming 160,000 human remains buried beneath your feet, it's not exactly picnic material. But more than anything, it's just a place that feels wrong. From the plague to psychiatric abuse, Poveglia is less of a European vacation and more of a gateway to hell. The US island where infected monkeys rule. All right, so you're cruising down the scenic South Carolina coast, salty breeze in your hair, daydreaming about retiring in a beach bungalow and naming your boat El Sí Señor. Then off in the distance, you spot a quiet little island and think to yourself, it's a postcard of paradise. But what you don't know is that the island is overrun by infected monkeys that would tear you apart. Forget 500 guys against one gorilla. This is 4,000 monkeys against anyone crazy enough to step foot on the island. Naturally, there's a huge sign warning you not to even attempt passage to the island. In huge bold letters, the sign reads, "Do not feed, approach, disturb, molest, or injure the animals. Violators will be prosecuted." Well, I like to call this place Monkey Island. Its real name is Morgan Island, and it's definitely going to be ground zero for a zombie apocalypse. You've seen 28 Days Later, right? This is how it starts. Why you're not allowed to visit. Morgan Island is home to no humans, 0, but it is home to around 4,000 rhesus macaques, aka chaos goblins with tails. These monkeys might look cute from a distance, but they're not just any monkeys. These monkeys carry herpes B, a virus that is typically harmless to them, but is often deadly to humans. And it's right off the coast of South Carolina. Why is there an island of infected diseased monkeys in the first place? The answer lies in Puerto Rico. Monkeying around. In the 20th century, scientists transported rhesus monkeys to Puerto Rico to be used as test subjects. Without getting into the morality of animal testing, I will say that the monkeys had a habit of going full Houdini. They escaped from the labs, roamed freely, and spread herpes B infections wherever their little feet took them. Puerto Rico was over it. They did not want any more monkeys spreading disease through their communities. Hey, you can't blame them for not wanting monkey herpes. The US government needed a new place for their monkey test subjects. They chose Morgan Island, uninhabited and perfect for an off-the-grid primate relocation. In 1979 and 1980, the monkeys were moved in, and South Carolina was stuck with them. The monkeys are living their lives on this random island, swinging from trees, eating fruit, monkeying around. You know what I mean? But they aren't just freeloading beasts who share our DNA. They have jobs. The monkeys are part of an ongoing biomedical research program run by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Every year, researchers with government clearance make their way onto the island, take a few hundred monkeys, and use them for medical studies. Before you grab a pitchfork and storm the beach with PETA, you should know that things have changed since the 1970s. Animal cruelty laws are a thing, and monkeys absolutely cannot be mistreated. The research is tightly regulated, and the monkeys have already played a major role in developing vaccines, treatments, and progressing infectious disease research. It's all above board, except for the fact that every now and again, a few monkeys escape. And that's when the whole 28 days later thing starts to feel less like a funny joke and more like the real apocalypse. The ape escape, real life edition. In November of 2023, a group of 43 monkeys busted out of a South Carolina research facility when someone forgot to lock the enclosure properly. Way to go, Steve. Most of the monkeys were recaptured quickly, but some remained on the lam for weeks, hiding in the woods, plotting their next move, possibly starting a monkey biker gang. If it was one monkey, okay, it was a whoopsie, but 43 monkeys. Imagine running into them while out in the forest. They would kidnap your kid and turn it into one of their own. So yeah, maybe don't paddleboard to Morgan Island thinking it's a fun, undiscovered camping spot. Morgan Island is technically managed as part of a protected wildlife area. Even if you want to visit, you can't, and you shouldn't. And the monkeys don't want you there either. Earth's last stand of true isolation. Beyond the map's edge lies a place fiercely guarded, a place where the modern world's reach crumbles. Think about it. In an age of satellites and instant communication, there is still a place on Earth that's essentially off limits to us all. North Sentinel Island, a tiny speck of land nestled in the Bay of Bengal, isn't just remote. It is an impenetrable fortress. While most corners of the globe have been explored, mapped, and integrated, North Sentinel remains a defiant mystery. It is home to the Sentinelese, one of the last uncontacted tribes on the planet. They are a group that has fiercely and violently rejected any form of outside interaction, often with lethal consequences. This island isn't dangerous in the conventional sense of venomous creatures or natural disasters. It's dangerous because of the people who live there. They are fiercely protective of their ancient way of life and can even turn deadly. Isolation is their best friend, so don't even think about going there. A remote outpost. Part of the Andaman Islands archipelago, North Sentinel Island is a small, heavily forested landmass, roughly 20 square miles. Its shores are fringed with treacherous coral reefs, making approach by boat incredibly difficult, and for the unwary, potentially fatal. What truly sets it apart, however, are its inhabitants. The Sentinelese are an indigenous people believed to be direct descendants of the first humans to migrate from Africa, having lived on the island for tens of thousands of years in complete isolation from the outside world. Their exact population is unknown, with estimates ranging from a few dozen to a few hundred people. They are hunter-gatherers, living off the bounty of the island's forests and the surrounding sea. Very little is known about their language, culture, or social structure, as any attempts to observe them closely have been met with immediate and often brutal hostility. But it's probably how they've managed to survive for so long. It's very likely that any outsider could bring a disease and wipe them all out. But because the Sentinelese are so isolated, stories have spread that they are cannibals. There's wild speculation and fear in the outside world, which is kind of silly now, don't you think? I mean, who's more scared of whom? But in the past, isolated tribes in general and fear of the unknown in the age of exploration made people panic. Why do outsiders die? The primary danger of North Sentinel Island stems directly from the Sentinelese people's absolute, uncompromising determination to remain isolated. They have consistently met any attempts at contact with overwhelming aggression, ranging from menacing gestures to deadly volleys of arrows and spears. They don't welcome visitors, they attack them. Even the most seasoned explorers, those who have navigated the planet's most dangerous corners, have learned to give North Sentinel Island a wide berth. Throughout history, numerous attempts at contact have been made, most notably by Indian expeditions in the late 20th century. There had been some cautious interactions from a distance, but the Sentinelese never reciprocated the desire for sustained contact. More often than not, they responded with outright violence, firing arrows that often found their mark. The past is fiercely defended on the island, and the future, for any outsider who lands there, is often brutally short. John Allen Chow, driven by a misguided desire to preach Christianity, illegally paid local fishermen to take him close to the island, and then, despite grave warnings, foolishly ventured onto its shores. He was swiftly killed by the Sentinelese, reportedly struck by a hail of arrows. This incident served as a stark reminder of the immediate and lethal consequences of ignoring the island's unwritten but deadly boundaries. A necessary isolation. While their responses are aggressive, the Sentinelese's actions are a defense mechanism. They're not just protecting their home or their way of life, they are safeguarding their very existence. Uncontacted tribes are incredibly vulnerable to diseases to which they have no immunity. A common cold, harmless to us, could decimate their entire population. Historically, contact with isolated indigenous groups has often led to the rapid spread of diseases, resulting in catastrophic population declines and, in many cases, complete annihilation. Think about it. History is littered with the ghosts of tribes wiped out, not by direct conflict, but by the invisible horrors we unknowingly carried. Recognizing the vulnerability and danger to outsiders, the Indian government has adopted a strict policy of non-interference. It is illegal and incredibly dangerous to approach North Sentinel Island within a 5 nautical mile exclusion zone. This policy is not just to protect the islanders from our diseases, it is also to protect the lives of those foolish enough to disregard the warnings. Ignoring this prohibition carries the very real risk of death. Consider this. Your last moments might be spent realizing that the adventure you were looking for was nothing more than an irreversible trespass into your own grave. A final frontier, for now. North Sentinel Island, therefore, stands as a unique, dangerous, and almost mythical place. It's like something ripped from a primeval nightmare, a place where the rules of our civilized world, quote-unquote, simply don't apply. It represents a rare example of a community that has successfully maintained its independence from external influences. Their unwavering resistance forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our own assumptions regarding progress and the right to self-determination. For the vast majority of people, North Sentinel Island is, and should remain, an unreachable, forbidden place. Its danger is not one of inherent malice, but of the existential threat that our world poses to a people who have chosen for millennia to live apart. The best approach to North Sentinel Island is no approach at all. It is a place best left undisturbed. The continued existence of the Sentinelese on North Sentinel Island is a powerful symbol of a different way of life, one that demands our utmost respect and protection through absolute no contact. Basically, we should leave these people alone. Thanks for watching. If you had to, even if it was against your will, visit one of the islands, which one would it be? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!